Welcome to the Green Man Workshop. That's the Green Man. I'm the Green Man. This is the workshop which I built from real, genuine tree wood and metal nails. Green Man Workshop.
Welcome back to the Green Man Workshop. You can see I'm getting all my uprights level and the floor nice and level. I've got those supports in to hold the uprights in position while before I fix the roof, which will obviously hold them in the correct position. At the moment it looks like just a big goalpost in the garden. There's going to be 5 of those uprights which are actually sleepers, and this is what I call my mood board. That was just a piece of the cedar that I was going to use on the cladding, and I wanted to put it in place just to see how it would look. These are the back uprights, again with their supports, and this is a bit of tree stump that was left over that I've made into a little mini table, and I've got my water there with ice. I put those extra angle brackets in, again just to give a bit of extra support, belt and braces. So there's 5 uprights, as I said. actually, sorry, 7 uprights. There's 5 around the edges. There's 1 in each corner, 1 in the middle, and then later on when I put the doors in, there are uprights either side of the double doors. Here's me back again in my apron. I'm using speed square and a tape to get the cuts accurate. And as always, you always measure twice or 3 or 4 times just to make sure that's right. And the sliding miter saw makes light work of those cuts. I'll throw my scrap over there, and this is a wood preserver. On all the cut ends I put some wood preserver onto that. It's very runny, so I was putting the tub underneath to catch all the drips and then putting it out of the way. Oh, here we have the nature interlude. A little butterfly living on the ivy that I sadly had to chop back, but it's growing back already. When you're building on your own, you have to come up with some ingenious methods. So I've got my level clamped to piece of wood I'm trying to get in a 90-degree position. And it's a bit fiddly. I could do with about 6 hands here. And again, another little bit of scrap wood to keep that in the right position until I can put the frame around the top. It just takes time fiddling about with, you know, without having enough hands to do everything. But it did work. I have got all my. I was quite pleased that everything's fairly level and square. Now it's finished. It's still standing after a few months, so that's quite good. The apron's handy when I was doing this sort of work because it's got all the little, I can keep the nails in the pocket. And I did actually make a little belt loop for the hammer in the end as well when I got to the stage where I was doing a lot of nailing. And then I actually, halfway through the build, I went to a car boot sale and somebody was selling an actual proper nail pouch, so I bought that. I didn't need the apron then. It's very hot when I was doing the build. I've got my ice, you know, water that's been in the freezer. That's just keeping me cool. And the garden's like a builder's yard, and it remained like that for several months while I was doing this. But there you can see the 5 uprights, 5 main uprights, should we say, all around. And I've got the ring around the top, and the first rafter put in. And this will be cutting out the bird mouths, covered in man glitter. They're little bird mouths. I cut them out mainly with the circular saw. A bit of hand sawing, and then that's them all put into place. That hole there, the rectangular hole, is going to be my window, my clerestory window, which you'll see in subsequent videos. If you subscribe and keep following this, you'll see what it is. Loads of 18mm plywood to carry around the back. So I made this out of a bit of scrap. You can see I was practicing cutting the bird mouths on that as well. So I've made this little hand thing to help carry those big sheets, which again are very heavy for one person. So this was a little idea I had, so I thought I'd just hook it under there, so I haven't got to keep, so I didn't have to lift it quite so high on my shoulder. Try and get through the garden gate with it. And it's still heavy, but it did work. I used it for a few sheets, and I will actually be honest, after a while I got fed up with it and I just stuck them on my shoulder and carried them in the end. But it was a good idea. And here's another good idea. I had to try and get those sheets up onto the roof. Again, single-handed, so it wasn't ideal. But I had some scrap little wedges, little cuts, so I screwed those into some of the other sort of spare 2x4s and leaned them up against the front of the roof, and I could use that to slide plywood sheets up onto the roof. It did work. I didn't have any major accidents with it. So that's sitting on the first wedge, and then I just push it up to the second wedge, have a little rest there, up to the next one, and then now what I did wrong here, I didn't have my ladder positioned correctly, so I was trying to move that, and then rather stupidly couldn't get the ladder out, so we resorted to an alternative method where you just throw the ladder on the floor and climb on top of it. And it worked. The next time I actually put the ladder in the correct position, so I didn't have to do all this, but that's it. So it's up there, and then I could then get the ladder up and push it further on to the roof. You can see this time I've got the ladder in the correct position. And once you get to there, it's just the weight of the board pulls it over, so it's quite a good way of doing it, actually, getting that up. And then the ladder's there, I can just climb up and push it on the rest of the way. Once I've got it sorted out on the slightly uneven ground there. At this stage, the whole structure was pretty secure, but it wobbled a fair bit because of the sheeting hadn't been put on. Obviously, it's not as rigid as it is when it's completed. So every sheet I put on, every sheet that got screwed onto the roof, made the whole thing a little bit more rigid. And then once the outside cladding went on, then it became much more rigid now, so you can't wobble the thing anymore. Next phase is going to be putting the rubber roof on and building the back roof, and it'll all become apparent what it's going to look like at the end if you carry on following these videos. So I'll see you next time.